So, when I was only a wee little artist running through the woods, I would love to capture bugs and small pond creatures for my studies. I was really fascinated with bugs, animals or birds, and this childhood infatuation is still with me today. Around this time when I was really getting interested in creatures, for special treats, my mum used to take me to what was Toys R Us. On one of these favourite visits, two creatures really stood out to me. They amazed me, but I had no idea what they were, but they were going to be mine. When I found out these two creatures were Dialga and Palkia from my friend who was literally obsessed with Pokemon. Once I found out they were Pokemon, I was hooked. I had a Pokemon fever. And yes, I do still have my massive Pokemon card collection to this day, because I'm a gigantic man-child. Pokemon, if you didn't know, which is rare, is one of the largest franchises in the world. Pokemon is where you catch creatures called Pokemon, obviously, and make them fight for your amusement in arena battles. I just looked it up, but Pokemon is like 24 years old. Okay, boomer. But this franchise really proves that video games, card games, anything can really cross generations and cultures. You've got Pokemon stores in London, in China, in Japan, all around the world. So why am I talking about Pokemon and giving you this long exposition on my first ever Pokemon toy and how it changed my future? Well, I've made my own. Sort of. I've always wanted to make my own Pokemon, but my art skills haven't always really been legible. But instead of just jumping straight in and making a new Pokemon, I wanted to start by making a regional variant, and then over time progressing into making a completely new Pokemon. As the new games Sword and Shield are based in the good old UK, governor, what? As I come from good old Britain, alright darling? I'll stop the accent now. I thought I'd pick a Pokemon from these games. So which wondrous, magical, incredible Pokemon did I pick? Arrokuda, the one that's basically a Barracuda. But really, if this game's set in the UK, it looks more like a British pike. Pike's a big long scary fish with backwards teeth. Yeah, scary. So instead of just jumping right in and making something that basically is Arrokuda with a hat, coughing, or some fan art looking monstrosity, I knew this was going to be an Alola variant from the Sun and Moon games, as that was the first game I heard about having these new regional variants. So Alola is basically a Caribbean, the complete opposite of the UK. But I do visit the Caribbean islands a lot as I'm an avid scuba diver. Another hobby that I like to enjoy while I'm on the Caribbean islands, which may sound strange for a person who enjoys scuba diving, is deep sea fishing. And I know this is a very sensitive subject, but my rule is, if I catch a fish, I will use every part of the fish, so nothing is wasted. On one of my trips, I caught a fish called a wahoo, which interestingly comes from the mackerel family, but this mackerel can't fit into a tin, haha, as the wahoo can grow up to nearly 8 feet in length. I really like the idea of using the wahoo as the basis for my Arrokuda, as they both in some way relate to the Barracuda. The Arrokuda's design is based off the Barracuda, and the wahoo is extremely fast, with reaching speeds of up to nearly 48 miles per hour. That's faster than my Skoda, so I really wanted to show this element of speed. Well, how does one go about drawing one's first Pokemon? Well, you really need to start with one artist, Ken Sugimori. He's the artist who has illustrated all the Pokemon of the core games. He has had some help in the later games designing the Pokemon, but all the drawings have been done by his hand. He's like the godfather of Pokemon, and one day I will do a deep dive into his style, but now I just want to get to grips with drawing Pokemon. At this point, I thought I had a sketch that looked slightly like Ken Sugimori's style, but I needed to colour it, and as Pokemon is one of the largest franchises in the world, everybody has seen one. And I knew if I tried to choose my own colours, it may look too different, so I used colours from an actual Pokemon. More specifically, Clawitzer, as the colour really represents the type and ability my Pokemon will have. which would be water and electric, as the wahoo is a fish and it could be charged by some electrical power. So at the end of day one, I was really happy with the position that I'd achieved. I felt it showed the speed and agility of the wahoo, but still kept one of the main aspects of Pokemon, which is that it looks like it could be your friend. But like with all work in progresses, there were some key flaws. It looked way too like a cartoon, not a Pokemon. The reason why it looked like a cartoon was the line art was too clean. If you look especially at Ken Sugimori's line art, it is a very textured look, as the first generation was done on pen and paper. What stood out to me was that when I showed people the design, they couldn't understand what the large blue flap underneath the mouth was. What I was trying to show was a large gullet, like on a pelican, that would scoop up other fish. But when I simplified it, you couldn't understand what was going on, and it didn't fit with that sleek, speedy fish I was trying to show. Now I want to talk more specifically about certain things I changed to make the piece look more like a real Pokemon. So if you don't want to hear about that exposition and stuff, go to the timestamp now. At this point, instead of trying to change the line work I'd already done, I decided to draw a new layer. With a brush that emulated a pencil, this gave it the hand-drawn look I wanted. I also added small imperfections, like instead of using the circle tool to draw the eye, which looked too clean, I did it by hand. These were only small changes, but they subtly made the piece look more like a Pokemon. So one of the things I found really difficult, and I'm still trying to get it look right, was the shading. I've always found shading really hard, as it's one of the last pieces you do to finish off the piece. But with Pokemon, there seems to be a variety of different ways to shade, from the original watercolour to the fully digital layered effect today. Because my understanding is very limited, I used the same shading on the Arrokuda, which was with clear steps leading to the darker or lighter shades, but not with the exact accuracy of some of the other digital designs. So you may be wondering, what's the name of this crazy creature and why haven't I said it? Well, as usual, I've been procrastinating. But I can do you one better and give you a name and a description. Meet the Wahoona. Wahoona, the water hunter Pokemon, is a water electric type, which are known to be extremely hard to catch while fishing due to their electrically charged speed. Due to this speed and agility, the Wahoona is sought after by many trainers, but only the most experienced trainer is able to handle its ferociousness. So, that was a little description of the Wahoona. I hope you enjoyed the video so far, and I'll leave the time lapse to run over, and I'll see you at the end. So thank you for watching the video. I've actually really enjoyed making this one and making my own Pokemon variant or whatever it is, the Wahoona. But I hope you enjoyed, and please, as the usual stuff, give a like and give a subscribe and maybe watch another video. So, Rogart out.